I want you to close your eyes and I want you to picture what you remember about the end of Alabama's season. They're in the Rose Bowl, it's January, and Ty Simpson, the guy who was a Heisman frontrunner in October, was standing on the sideline, holding his ribs. He's done for the night, but it didn't matter because the scoreboard read Indiana 38, Alabama 3. That was a statement, not just a loss. And everybody who walked out of the stadium that day walked out telling the same story. I remember it clear as day. Alabama slipping, they've fallen off. Indiana's the new dog. And you know who agreed? Well, the betting market. Because when the win totals came out this past spring, that number really was based on a feeling. 8.5, lower than Alabama has opened in a generation. The odds makers looked at Tuscaloosa and they quietly whispered, yeah, decline, they're done. So the question that this whole video is about, are they right? Or is everybody about to get a very expensive lesson in what year 3 means in Tuscaloosa? Because here's the thing that nobody mentioned in that Rose Bowl press box. There have been 3 coaches in Alabama's history who have won a championship in year 3. Wallace Wade, Gene Stallings, Nick Saban. All in 3 different eras, and every single one of them won that first natty in the exact same season of year 3. Kalen DeBoer is walking into year 3. And now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but let me tell you what Alabama did about that. This spring, Michigan came calling. One of the bluest bloods in all of the sport. You know it. The job was open, and they wanted DeBoer. Alabama's answer was they tore up his deal. They handed him 7 years and $12.5 million a season, making him one of the 5 highest paid coaches in America. You don't do that to a program that you think is fading. You do that when you believe. And here is why they believe. A couple years ago, this man took Washington's roster with less talent than anybody that I think he will ever coach at Alabama, and he rode it all the way to the national championship game. So spare me the he can't do it without Saban's players or Saban's mentality, all that narrative. Winning with less is something that DeBoer has done. I'm not promising you a title this year, but the number says 8.5. And history, to me, is whispering something, year 3. So let me show you why I think the market got scared of the wrong things, and I love Alabama over 8.5 this year. Now, before we do that, I want to be honest with you first, because if I skip the scary part, I don't think you're going to end up trusting the rest. So, if anything, I'm honest. So, there are 2 real reasons why I think you could love the under. 1, they don't have a quarterback, at least not officially. Ty Simpson's in the NFL, and as of today, DeBoer still hasn't named that starter. Right now, it's a knife fight between Austin Mack, who's had 4 years in the system, he's a safe veteran, and Keelan Russell, who's a 5-star. He lit it up in the spring. Nobody knows who's going to take the first snap in September, but I'll tell you right now, I love both of them. 2, the one thing that truly gives me a little bit of hesitation is that offensive line. Every starter's gone, including an All-American left tackle. So, those are your 2 horses if you want the under. I think they're real. It's why that under is live. That's why this is not a lock by any means. But I think here's where the story turns. There's your arguments. Here's mine. Win totals are not decided on your best Saturdays. They're decided on your worst ones. Everybody beats the cupcakes. Those ugly, 1-score, nobody can move the ball type of games that you'll play in October and November. The question that decides seasons is when the offense stalls out, what catches you? And for Alabama, the answer might just be the best secondary in college football. At minimum, they're like a top 5, top 6. And I'm not going to say that lightly. Let's look at it. You start with the safeties. They got Keon Sabb and Bray Hubbard, both who had NFL draft grades coming into this spring. They both looked at going pro, and then they came back. Hubbard's already showing up on NFL analyst lists as one of the top safety prospects in the entire country for this next year's draft. And then at corner, you got Xavier Brown, who became the first Alabama corner since 1992 to take 2 interceptions to a house in a single season. You do that, you add Dijon Lee, who was an all-freshman, a freshman all-SEC kid on the other side, and then that's not just a good secondary. I think that is 4 legitimate future pros. That gives me a little bit of inklings of past Alabama defenses, not comparing them at all. But those are 4 future pros who wanted to all run it back together. So those are NFL dudes, plural, dudes. And up front, I think this is where everybody misses. DeBoer said it himself. They're bigger up front this year. They're bigger inside and out. They went into Oregon's portal, albeit, And they pulled a defensive end and a nose guard to add real size from Eugene. Their leading pass rushers back. Kane Womack now has a heavier, meaner front and an NFL secondary behind it. So this defense is legit. This is a defense that is not going to get blown out. And if you're a team that doesn't get blown out, you're not going to lose, your big time games by a lot. You're going to be in every single game. You're going to be alive in the coin flips long enough to at least steal one or two. Now, the part that the panic ignores on offense, yes, the line is new, but the run game that they're trying to fix, I think the talent is there. We just don't know a lot of those names yet. They return a stable of backs, including a kid that ripped off 7.5 yards a carry last season. Not a ton of carries, but the promise is there. They added a blue chip freshman on top of that, and I think Keelan Russell, that's his job to lose, and if he wins that quarterback job, you're adding a dual threat runner who bends the math of a defense all by himself. So you revive that run game. That, I think, was the mission of the offense. They should have been better with Jam Miller and company last year. I think they truly tried to do what they could to revive the run game, and for once, I think they've actually got the horses to actually do it. Now, with all that said, don't forget who is actually calling the offense. You got DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, who took a first-year starter in Ty Simpson, and they made him a Heisman contender last fall. So building a quarterback out of nothing is not the risk with this staff, but it's just something they do. It's the job description. So hold that picture in mind. You got the NFL secondary, you got a bigger front, a staff that knows how to manufacture offense, and now we got to look at the schedule. You got to count the games, because despite all of that, I don't hate this schedule. The Alabama is cooked crowd, I think, doesn't know how to count. So taking a look at the schedule, 8 of these 12, I think, just looking at it right now, Alabama's going to be the favorite. You could even convince me about 1 or 2 more. East Carolina at Kentucky, Florida State at home, South Carolina at Mississippi State. I think they'll be favored at Vandy, Chattanooga, and Auburn. So they're the favorite, I think, in those 8. That leaves 4 games with teeth. Georgia comes to town. Texas A&M does 2. And then you have 2 road trips, Tennessee and LSU. Now, this is just a math equation. Do the math. It's not very complicated. My fans that are not fans of the SEC, hold the games you're supposed to hold. Let's say they win all 8 of those. And then all you need to do is just steal one of those 4, and you're 9-3. That's the over. Now, let's say you lose one of those random ones, because looking at it, I think it's realistic. A South Carolina, a Mississippi State, an Auburn, heck, a Vandy. And then you got to steal 2 of the Georgia, Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU, which I think they can do. You do that and you're 9-3. That's the over. I'm not saying it's like Alabama's back, not 12-0, none of that. Just this defense and this staff is going to steal 1 out of 4, maybe 2 out of 4 to give themselves a mulligan. So when you do that, you do the math, you say it out loud, and it stops sounding like a prayer and it starts sounding like a real possibility. Am I sure? No. Anybody selling you sure is selling you something. If that line and that quarterback fall apart in September and Alabama drops one that it shouldn't, well, there's your 8-4 and the under can cash. But I think this is legitimate. This is one of my favorite plays right now in the offseason. There's never been a better time to buy low on Alabama. When I stack it, an NFL secondary that keeps them breathing, a bigger front, the horses to fix the run game, a staff that builds quarterbacks in its sleep, and a schedule that only asks them to steal 1, maybe 2. Dude, in year 3, over 8.5, I am hammering that. I'm taking it. That's the story. Year 3 in Tuscaloosa. Let me know over under 8.5. Let me know in the comments. Peace.